Guys, today an honest review of the Mount to Coast T1, the stuff that you can't Google. If you could just ask one of your friends that's ran 200 miles in a shoe what it was like. I'm not a huge influencer that has these things given to them and then they run 5 miles and give a review. I'll give you a pretty honest shakedown, exactly what's going on over the last 200 miles in the shoe, including how I blew the entire shoe out. Guys, first I want to talk about a major mistake I made about the Mount to Coast T1s. If you have run in the Mount to Coast before, like I have, I did Javelin 100 in the R1. Like I said, I love their shoes. It's been pretty much the shoe that I've run in the last year. And when I was waiting for this shoe, the number one mistake that I made was that I was going to try and compare it to the fabulous R1, the S1, and the P1, when in fact, in my opinion, this is a completely different shoe. And if you are used to those shoes, don't be expecting just to get a pair of R1 with the Vibram outsole on it. And by no means am I saying that's a bad thing. If I had never run in a Mount to Coast shoe, I would be very, very happy with this shoe. And I'll give some comparisons to other shoes that I've ran in. But because I was so focused on, oh, just make the R1s are so great. Make the R1s a trail shoe, that when they came and they were so different, I was like, ah. So if you've never run a Mount to Coast, you could just forget everything I just said and just think about what I moved forward. But if you've run in the R1, S1, and P1 and you're expecting that same sort of fit and that same sort of shoe, I wouldn't. I would go in with an open mind, a clean slate of what this shoe is going to give you. And I will talk about some other shoes that I've run in, guys, but if you want a full comparison or know other shoes that I've ran in, leave a comment down in the comment section. I will give you a link to the free Discord. You can get in there, have a conversation with me about this shoe and how it compares to every other running shoe that I've run in over the last year. Now, there are definitely some technicals that I want to talk about when it comes to this shoe, guys. This shoe has a 4mm heel to toe drop. Okay, we have 36mm stack in the back and a 32 forefoot. I will say that it doesn't feel that heavy. I have been very, very happy with the ground feel. I don't feel like I am up on a pedestal in these shoes and some of the bigger, higher stacked trail shoes that I've worn. It doesn't have like a I'm gonna blow my ankle out sort of feel. I do kind of have glass ankles and I haven't done anything major as far as rolling ankles in the shoe or anything like that. So although it's considered maybe a little bit higher stack, I really do have a pretty good ground feel. The shoe does have a fair amount of stiffness to it, unlike the R1s. I feel like the R1s had a lot more give, but what that's doing for me is it's helping me propel a little bit on trails. It took a little bit of getting used to going uphill, right, when I'm more on my toe, and that stiffness was there, but I've really come to like and accept that stiffness. Like I said, not comparing it to the R1. I've liked that little bit of stiffness and that little bit of rocker, which actually is kind of pushing me forward on those times when the paces on the trails want to slow down a little bit. I've had this shoe in every condition possible, guys. The 4mm lug pattern on this shoe, they have been absolutely great. They have had no problems in mud. I had them even out when we had some snow, dry, gravel. I've even taken this on the road leading into trails. No problem. I really think that this might be my UTMB shoe. And even though UTMB isn't terribly technical, it does have its technical parts. And I'm pretty confident that whatever kind of terrain this shoe is going to give to me, I can handle pretty well. The lockdown has been a little bit iffy, which is the only reason that I have not fully committed to making this my UTMB shoe yet. But I did just hear some news that's going to help that and give me a lot more confidence that I'll talk about in just 1 second when I get to the lacing system and the lockdown. This is actually the first shoe that I've ever worn that has the Vibram Mega Grip, and this also has the light base, so it's a little bit lighter with still all of that same traction. And I used to think that Vibram Mega Grip was kind of like a myth, like how good could it really be? Dude, it's grippy. It's really, really grippy. And like I said, besides that good traction with the 4mm lugs, which aren't like overbearing, like I feel like even from 4 to 5 sometimes on shoes with 5, I really feel like I'm on like a lifted truck. But no, these have been great, and the Vibram has been surprisingly awesome. Now you could read about this amazing upper, guys, and the woven fabric and the Kevlar. I'll just tell you this, guys. It is, I don't think you're ever going to destruct the upper. Like when this shoe fails after hundreds and hundreds of miles, it's probably going to be the outsole way before the upper ever does. It is comfortable. It's not stiff. It has a good fit. It is very see-through. If I shine a light in here, it would shine out. If I wear bright socks, I can see my bright socks right through here. And that for me has made it very breathable as the temperatures have started to increase, as well as pretty good drainage. It kind of like that Kevlar woven fabric kind of like displaces water a little bit. So like if I'm in like the grass in like a dewy situation, I'm not gonna say it's waterproof, water resistant, but it definitely beads away water, I find, on the outside of the shoe. But when I've done full water crossings in here, I don't find myself sloshing around. I'm sure there's shoes that can probably displace water a little bit better, but I feel like they have very good drainage, and like I said, they've been fully submerged before. As far as the cushion, I find it to be pretty cushioned. Just enough stiffness where I don't feel like I'm walking on like a cloud or an everyday trainer. I feel like the R1s were very, very cushiony, right? Where these have that little bit more that little more trail stiffness that I kind of want in a trail shoe. Gives me that ground feel, nice wide base. I feel very, very comfortable underfoot. And I think that comes with a little bit less cushion. Now, is it a 100-mile shoe? I think so. I think it does definitely have enough cushion to get you into that 100-mile distance, but definitely 50 miles below, the cushion is not going to be an issue at all. As I mentioned, nice wide foot, nice wide base, wide toe box, really, really good stability underfoot. Haven't had any issues feeling, like I said, that I'm going to roll this thing. It doesn't feel slippery slidey. I mentioned the fit a little bit, but we're going to talk about that in just a second. But underfoot, stability, cushion, very, very happy with it. It does have an attachment for a gaiter on the back here, so you can attach your gaiter and then another one to the front of the foot. I know some people like to wear gaiters. I'm not really a huge gaiter guy. I haven't had to really wear gaiters or been in a situation where I've had to yet. But if you needed to, that is there. Just want to let you know that that's there. Another thing I always read about is how many grams a shoe is, and I never know if that's light or heavy. I will give you the spec of 255 grams in a men's size 9. For comparisons of what I'm running in now or some popular shoes, I know the La Sportiva, which is a very, very popular like super shoe right now in the same price category as this. I think these are pricing in at about $180. The Sportivas are the exact same weight. I'll be honest, these feel lighter. I run in the Sportivas as well. These feel a little bit lighter, but nothing significant. But I will say, I also run in the Hoka Speed Goats, and I run in the Hoka Mafates. I know the Speed Goats are like 275. I want to say maybe 275, 280, so 20 grams more. And I want to say the Mafate, another 20 grams up, so just under 300 at like 295. So the number really doesn't matter so much if you like just know that they're comparable. The Sportivas really don't feel any difference. I've worn them both. I tried to do like a one shoe on each foot kind of video. It was a freaking disaster. But I will tell you, I can definitely feel a difference in weight between the Mafate, which is on the bigger side, like 300 grams, and this feels really, really light, which is another reason that's pushing me over to using this for UTMB. I know for those longer efforts, UTMB is probably going to take a guy like me like 40 hours. 40 grams is going to add up over the course of 40 hours for sure. It's got a really, really nice toe plate on there, guys. I'd be kicking shit. So I've needed this a few times. Very, very nice. Not too stiff or like it's bad on the toe. But yeah, no, it's been it's got a nice little pad in the front. I've definitely kicked some stuff and it's been pretty good. It hasn't been any issues at all as far as like not having any front toe protection. The toe box, I consider myself to have a wider foot, kind of like when I used to wear the Hoka Challengers, I would go in a wide. Everything else now I'm in I'm in a regular size shoe, but when I'm in wider toe box shoes, I tend to wear toe socks. When I'm in thinner shoes like the Hoka, like the Mafate, I tend to just wear Merino wool, no toe socks. These with toe socks for me give me plenty of room to splay out my toes. Hasn't been an issue at all. No pinky damage, no nothing like that. So the toe box is definitely nice and wide, especially compared to those shoes that you might hear that are a little more narrow. Now onto the lacing system of the shoe and why this shoe here does not have a lacing system on it. Really, my only big con when I got this shoe, and it has grown on me. I will tell you this. I didn't love it at first. I was kind of like, I hate this, but it's kind of grown on me. And the same kind of happened with the R1, how they had the two lacing systems. They have the regular laces up top, and then they had these speed laces on the bottom. it's not Mount to Coast. It's not this shoe. I'm just not personally a fan of speed laces. I come from an Ironman triathlon background where speed in transition was all the rage and speed laces were everywhere. I didn't like them then. I have worn Solomon shoes. This actually reminds me a lot about the Genesis, but I've worn Solomon shoes with those. I just don't like them. They are convenient when you get to know them. On the R1, I definitely love the fact that I could just loosen the forefoot. But for me, I'm the guy that loves to, like, I tie my shoes too tight. I love my shoes to be too tight. I love my hockey skates to be too tight. I love my ski boots to be too tight. And I've found that it is just really, really hard for me to get these things super tight as I want. If you're a normal person that ties your shoes normal, not going to be an issue. It was not a problem for me. But when I first got it, I was like, I just don't know if this is something that I want to try and get used to. And another big fear for me was this loop is so long when I had it locked down that when I would put it inside, they have like a nice little pocket here that you can shove this lace into. It was so much extra that it was coming out. And the bottom one does not have any sort of shoe pocket. So you kind of have to tuck this away. And I kind of joked with my friends that, like, I love this shoe so much, but I kind of want to cut the speed laces out and I want to put regular laces in. I never did it because, like I said, the speed laces are great, but for a guy that wants that really, really tight lockdown, I really thought about cutting them out. Last week, I caught one of those loops on a route. And what it did, and luckily it blew out every single eyelet that I had because it ripped the shoe right off my foot. And if it hadn't, I would have gotten a lot more injured than I did. Not the shoe's fault, right? I think over time, this was about 2 hours into a run, it just, a little piece came out of the shoe garage, the shoe pocket, whatever you want to call it. And that loop got caught on a route. Could happen with any shoe with with speed laces. And I'll tell you this, just as a general, like, hey, Mount to Coast, just want to let you know this happened. You know, I want to be one of the advocates to help figure out how we can avoid it, or was this user error? Guys, let me tell you, they were so helpful, responsible. They took feedback from me. They sent me a new pair of shoes immediately to replace these ones. I mean, like, that's just the difference between like a small and up and coming company and these big corporate companies. They were so apologetic for what happened, even though it wasn't their fault. And they also gave me some really great feedback that I took into this review. I'd already made this review. This is a completely new review because after I spoke to them, they informed me that this shoe that I got a while ago, like I said, I've had it for a couple months now. This was kind of like a send out for testing beta prototype, kind of. And they mentioned to me that the laces are not all this long. So they had shortened the laces down depending on the size of the shoe. That was awesome feedback to hear. But one of the things I was tiptoeing around was that I really didn't like the speed laces. And, you know, I kind of mentioned it to them, not in so many words. And they let me know that in all of their shoes that they're sending out, they're in pre-order right now. You should be getting them any day now. They are sending a second pair of laces, regular laces, that you can put in here if you're not a speed laces kind of person. You will have to cut the speed laces out, and when you do that, if that's a choice you want to make, those speed laces will be 86. You will not be able to use them. But in my new pair, I put the regular laces in. Completely different shoe in my opinion. The lockdown, I went from like on the fence, is this going to be my UTMB shoe? Can it handle those steep downhills with the lack of lockdown that I felt with the speed laces? Not because they were coming loose once again, but because I had a problem just really yanking these things down. Now they have regular laces in them. And now that I know that they endorsed that, it wasn't like I had to like go behind their back and say like, your speed laces are kind of shit. I kind of want to put my regular laces in. They were like, hey, no, we get it. Some people aren't into the speed laces. So if you hate speed laces, and that's kind of the reason why you might be saying, I don't know if I really want to try the shoe, they're going to send you a regular pair of laces inside the box with this shoe when it comes. All that being said, this is their first go at a trail shoe, and I gotta say, it's awesome. At the $180 price point, Could you find something to be very competitive with this shoe that might work better for you? Yeah, maybe. But I think with the Vibram, okay, I think with the nice breathable, drainable, Kevlar, indestructible upper that you're going to get, a pretty good cushion, awesome stability, super light at 255 grams. To me, I think it's worth the $180. So these are probably going to be my trail shoes moving forward in my rotation with my other trail shoes. Like I said, if you have any questions about the shoe, leave them down in the comments. I'll either answer the question there or I will send you a link that you can jump into my free Discord and talk with everybody else talking shoes, training, nutrition, races. I hope this helped. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.